Here we go. Good morning, Larry Stoller.
Good morning. Here we are, Pig and Dragon, once again.
So great, so great.
Mhm.
We're about a little bit less than a week away from the Lunar New Year, which is a huge celebration across much of the world. The Chinese New Year, the Spring Festival,
Yeah, yeah.
carries so much promise, especially, today we're in Chicago. It's pretty chilly and uh
But it
wintry.
means spring is somehow nearby.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Amazing, right? The
Yeah.
energies of spring starting to return.
Definitely a big event, and we've had other big events this week too. I know you've got some things on your mind about that.
I do. I just also wanted to say about the new year, here we are, Pig and Dragon. Like these are in the zodiac, the Chinese zodiac, right? 12 signs, 12 months, 12 signs. The 12 is important. And, it's a way of centering certain kinds of consciousness in the world. And we're transforming into the consciousness of the year of the tiger. And it brings special opportunities to bring into our life what quality the tiger, that ability to be so calm, but also so sharp and change in an instant. But you don't have to do anything extra because it's all right there for you. And also to have that beauty, just to be so beautiful and powerful and live in the trees and be one with the trees and nature. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of fun things for those who, especially for those who are born in the year of the tiger. They get to have this be their year to really tune into their possibilities for the next 12 years. It's a cycle of 12 years. So that's pretty great. It's very exciting. As you say, like so many people in the world are celebrating this time of transition, and it's largely associated with the East,
Mhm.
right? And so I'm going to use that as my transition and say that we know, because here we are, students of Grandmaster Nan Lu, who's our master in a Chinese from the Chinese Taoist tradition. So we're back in the East again with the origin of these ideas, and recently, just within the week. We had the passing of another really remarkable master who's walked the earth during our lives, Thich Nhat Hanh. And so, he had a remarkable life, as many masters do. In other words, he passed through enormous hardship, having been a young man, teenager, even before during the Vietnam War, and saw all kinds of suffering, and joined a monastery there young. Been in a monastic for really his whole life. I think he joined the monastery at 14 or 15, somewhere in there. I don't know exactly. And then he transformed himself basically into a vehicle for peace. And along the way, in his deep understanding of Buddhist teachings, he gave the world some really modern ideas, just like Master Lu. He transformed ancient ideas and made them available to modern people. And one of them that he shares is a concept he called interbeing. And so when Thich Nhat Hanh would talk, he'd say, like, you and I are inter-are. And that's his way of talking about how interconnected everything is, and that there really is no you there. There's only you in relationship. And that resonates with us because we know that is a really central part of, not surprisingly, what Master Lu teaches, because it's deep in that consciousness of understanding, deep understanding of the way things are. And I thought, just for the moment, because there are many people who have interacted mostly with Thich Nhat Hanh through his books, many, many books and writings. But I wanted to share something. It's brief, because it's another very useful idea that he shares about happiness. And he writes and speaks often about watering good seeds. And I just wanted to read this. It's very short, just this one part. He speaks about this many times at much greater length than this few lines. But he says, if we pay attention only to the negative things in us, especially the suffering of past hurts, we are wallowing in our sorrows and not getting any positive nourishment. We can practice appropriate attention, watering the wholesome qualities in us, by touching the positive things that are always available inside and around us. That is good food for our minds. And that's what he refers to as watering good seeds. And, good food for our minds. It's so valuable. It's like there's no fighting in it. There's no sense of like you have to wrestle to the mat your demons and go search them out and clean every closet of every bad thing. It's not the way he sees it. That it's like, all that is fine, but inside the good seed exists, and if you water it, it will start to appear because that's its nature. And so our focus should be, according to him, what he understands is, spend our time watering good seeds and let the other ones be. They're fine too. There's a place for the upset and the suffering too. But we have good seeds in us, each of us. That's our nature. And for many people, that's a hard idea to accept, that inside each person is a good seed, is a light of goodness. I think that's a beautiful message.
It is a beautiful message, and it's
It's
much
hard.
easier to use your energy just to turn with your watering can and water the seeds than it is to rip out all the dandelions and everything you're trying to get rid of and tell yourself constantly, why can't I let it go? I've got to let this go. I've got to let it go. I can't let it go, and be in that fight, as
Yeah.
opposed to, okay, that's there, and this is also here. It's beautiful.
Yeah, really, really important. Many people, I see this in my practice, because I practice differently than a lot of psychologists. And, people are used to having the experience, if they've done therapy before, of like spending a lot of time trying to identify what's the source of my sorrow.
Yeah.
What was the cause? What, was the reason in my family that is why I'm so messed up today.
Right.
And, I learned not, some years ago that, essentially that's an endless search. If you start looking for that, there's no end to the amount of sorrow you'll find.
And yeah, it's beautiful.
Endless. And then you become a slave to sorrow.
And so instead, in that practice, you are encouraging people to not worry so much about the root cause of that thing from our minds, but to do what?
Actually, even inside that moment of terrible sorrow, there is something good. And that is much better to look for the good.
Yes.
And if you can't yet see it, then don't worry about it right now. Go find the good you can see. Eventually, you can go back and re-see what was there, and maybe you'll see the good in it, because there's good in everything. And that's a very uplifting, empowering way of thinking about ourselves, that we're not trapped in, this web of prison of suffering. That suffering is there, but it has to do with like a kind of ignorance, like we haven't seen it as things really are.
Right.
And that we can, but we can. And
Yeah.
it's okay. Yes.
It's okay if we're not ready to. That's okay too. Then we just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and have the faith that at some point that just might shift.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. And then when we're with others who are also doing that, we can get support and love and caring from others, because of this idea of interbeing, interconnectedness, that, when you have a moment of happiness and you shine, then that helps me, because I see it. Then I see it can happen. So, we can help each other.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful way to
Hey.
start the day and to
Hey.
head into the Lunar New Year. Happy week ahead. Happy celebrations ahead.
Exactly. Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.